Thank you, sir. All right, let's go to Danny. Danny's in Massachusetts. Hello, Danny. You're on with Reece on the radio on the Todd Feinberg Show.
Hey, Reece, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Pretty good. I can hear you great, sir. How are you?
I'm outstanding. Thank you very much. I haven't heard you on the radio before. I really appreciate you. I was brought to WTIC by our friend Tom Shattuck, and but you're much better than him. So thank you for filming me.
Well, at least you like Tom. Thank you.
No, I love Tom, but I think you're a bigger talent. You're going places.
Oh, thanks, gosh, Danny. Don't embarrass me.
Oh well, yeah.
Let me ask you this: the deal with marijuana. I mean, are you on board with me? I mean, I don't know about this. The deal with smoking marijuana everywhere. I know young people are very engaged in this sort of recreational use of it. They want to smoke it everywhere. But what do you think of this study that suggests that schizophrenia may be rampant within these young children? And do you find that problematic?
Of course, it's problematic. I mean, I'm against young people. I'm against drugs. I think it's just I think it's overall not a good thing. I think we're going down the tubes here in America. I'm all for freedom and democracy and making sure that people can do what they want to do.
Right.
But as long as you're not imposing that on someone else, I see the freedoms there. But at the same time, I talk to people all day that are, especially younger kids. I have 24, 25-year-olds that work for me that, I thought they were smoking cigarettes, and those weren't cigarettes. You know what? I see it. And look,
a very libertarian approach to the use, like you
mm-hmm.
do. I think what your position is pretty libertarian. Live and let live. But there has to be limits on even that, because it can't be just frivolous use in public places where other people may be impacted by your recreation, so to speak.
I agree, Reece, and I think there is something to what the caller said before. The gentleman, I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but I thought he brought up a good point about the edibles.
Oh, yeah.
If people want to take something and that helps them sleep or feel better or whatever, but I think you're getting at something else, right? That it's sort of gateway drug sort of thing, and next thing you know, you're going to be in the White House leaving cocaine on the tour.
Hey, anything could happen. Anything can happen, Danny. It's a good point. That's a very good point. I like the way you swung that around.
And I think it's interesting, too, that the Democrats, they're not – what happened to the anti-drug campaign? It was the Republicans at some point, right? The say no to drugs, and this is your brain on drugs. And, I have a friend, Tim.
And your brain on drugs, and now it's on – but I think, what? Look, someone found, and I believe this. Call it conspiracy if you want to. But I think someone found the use of useful idiots. And the term, it really is a turn of phrase when you think about these children who they're now saying, yeah, get high, get pregnant, be single parents. This permissible behavior that we've seen. What you've seen, I don't know how old you are, Danny. You sound like you're older, like you might be in or around my age. If you're in the late 40s, early 50s, you're in my wheelhouse here. But we saw a permissible behavior that happened within our culture and even within media that started to diminish the values that our grandmother and grandfathers lived by. And those became, if not square, outdated, antiquated, and Neanderthal, and needed to be removed from our sphere. So I remember Oprah Winfrey's 90s campaign for the You Go Girl movement, which in essence was nothing but 90s television shows telling young, impressionable women, you don't need a man. And those things ended up at the state we are now. Women started to promote in Cosmopolitan having children without fathers, and that being a positive thing.
Right, and where has that led us, Reece?
Exactly. It's led us to where we are now. So again, it's a long road down these permissible behaviors. I used to say within the hip-hop community, don't normalize the term baby mama. Don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make that normal. Because if you do, a guy not being involved in his child's life or marrying the woman he gets pregnant will go nuts. It'll be a floodgate. And sure enough, it is. We have seen it since the civil rights movement of 1964. We saw a dramatic shift in single-parent households. It used to be 23% before the civil rights movement. Now it's all the way up to 1977. That's a considerable shift in 50 years.
100%, Reese. And I think, so 2 points. Number one is, and I don't necessarily want to get into the whole trans issue, but I think you look at the loss of, now it's gone to the point where there's no feminism anymore. I mean, I consider myself a feminist now, right? I mean, look at women in sports. And I'm about to have my second kid in 5 days. Not me personally, my wife, because I'm not a childbearing, I'm a male, cisgender.
But not a birthing person.
Yeah, I'm not exactly. I don't have a period or whatever they say.
Yeah, right.
And I'm about to bring a second male child into the world. And I look at my son now, who's 3, and you know what, Reese, do you think back when, the greatest generation, you think about the World War II folks, and when they had their kids, which are, I think now sort of our parents or grandparents, whatever age people are, did they look at them and say, "Oh my God, what are you getting into?" I think they maybe did, but it was a very different generation, just a very different group of people. And if I could put one more point there, Reese, I think you look at people like, my friend Tim, he just had a heart attack, and he's getting older, but I think he looks back at his life and thinks like, what has he done? And he's brought people into this world, and he's been a good dad, and I think that's really inspiring. I get concerned that, my kids and my kids' kids, things might be a little different, though, a little bit down the road,
There's nothing wrong with, what, let me tell you this, Danny, there's nothing wrong with being afraid. There's nothing wrong with it. They're your children, and I think that we all walk in that space when we do have children. Like, we see the craziness that's going on in the world, and we wonder, what are my children going to endure in this new world, this world that is probably going to change in the next couple of years, that I will be either too old to protect them from, or they'll have to navigate on their own. Mm-hmm. I can only tell you, the only thing you can do is, 1, have faith, and 2, do whatever you can to parent them in the right way so that they have the values that protect themselves and the people who are important to them. If they go astray, acceptance is always the answer. You do what you can. You can't control everything, but you do what you can to instill a value and a virtue in your children the best way you can. Be a good parent. Remember that your sacrifices are made for their best interest. They will deny you. They will push back. They will be influenced. They will be coerced by people and their peers. But the only thing you can do is what you can do. Do not do more than you should do or can do, because you will drive yourself insane. But hopefully, if you do it in the right way, if you do it with care and comfort and with the right framework, your children will value you. I remember one thing that my stepdaughter said to me one day when she was screwing up, and I said, have you listened to anything I've ever told you? And she looked up at me with tears in her eyes, and she says, "You don't know how often your voice is in my head."
Oh, jeez.
And that broke my heart. Because she knew she made a mistake, but she said that when she made it, the first person she thought about is what I would say and what I would think. So you have to live your life knowing that you've made that kind of impact, and then you let the rest of it just go.
So, Reese, that was her version of "I'm not mad, I'm disappointed"?
Oh, man, listen to me. I remember when she took her brother to Times Square to Toys R Us without my permission in the middle, and she was only 15 and he was 9 or maybe 8, and he told me that they went to Toys R Us, and I looked at her and I didn't say a word, and she was like, "What, aren't you going to say anything?" I said, "No." She goes, "Aren't you going to punch me?" I went, "No." I said, "I'm just disappointed." She said, "No, please, don't be disappointed, please." She begged me, "Please, whatever." Reese,
I'm sitting here, I'm clutching my chest.
Sat next to me in the restaurant, grabbing me, just going, "Please, just don't be disappointed in me. Please don't." But I've always loved her for that. Always loved her for that.
Well, and Reese, the fact that she responded that way says so much about you as a dad in a positive manner.
Thank you. I do appreciate it, and I love my kids. They're not perfect. They're grown now, so they make their own mistakes. So that's something, again, you have to accept.
Nobody is, and I think you're right. Having both parents in the relationship and raising that child is such a big thing. And, I wish that for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Denny. I appreciate the call.
Thank you, Reese.